to.
Need to open this up.
Oh.
The three dots. And close it.
That's one.
Yes. And then you'll want to make.
Where,
Add.
where, see, who,
I'll add myself so you can make me a co-host so I can add people in.
so what, but we turned off the volume. The meeting volume. Did you do that or is that someone else who did that?
I did that.
But where's the volume?
That's a good question. We hit a lot of. I think it was, it was in the Zoom. Oh, audio is, I think there, and then audio settings. And then, oh, it's already back on. I had shut that all the way down, so it's on again.
Back up.
Yeah. So I'll make myself, or all doing so you can make me a co-host.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, they're probably still.
Yeah, he has to. That, right, he has to.
Yes.
Right.
He hasn't anyone, he hasn't let anyone in, but he can add us.
Okay.
But I'm gonna,
You should be able to just get right into it.
I should.
Yeah.
I. And then you'll need the session 2 slide.
Which I have.
Okay.
Oh, let's see. So it wasn't showing right, though.
Session 2.
So when I was displaying it, because what they were seeing was they were seeing the
Yeah, but it was something about the way it was.
display settings.
I couldn't see.
Okay, I think I'm doing it right.
Okay.
Because I just duplicated
Oh, wait.
it.
No, when I'm in the meeting and I just see you.
Well, I know, I'm not sharing my screen.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so we need the other room set up as well.
Yes,
Okay.
I mean,
So
that's not the very.
that's
first.
Megan's computer.
Yes.
Do you want to go over there and get it set up? Because it's going to join, it's got to be joined into this meeting. We're gonna, yeah, because we have a time. So you are co-host.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, I heard you're. Go over there. When the LEA. Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
So, no. And let's get that L, that other L set up as well.
Been having trouble.
Did you, the hoot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turn it over.
And that word.
That makes sense.
So yeah, you.
Oh my God.
I hear.
Okay. So.
No, I meant further, like. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Two bar.
Yeah.
So,
So I'll have to do that too.
we'll record that, right?
It
If
will,
we need something, we can go back to chat, right?
yes,
The
Yes.
for some conversation.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
That sounds good.
I just have to remember how to do all this, the poll and the breakout. So Aaron, at a certain point, we have to start the breakout. It'll be on the screen when that point comes, but either me or you have, I don't remember if you have to do it or if I'm able to.
You have to do it.
I just don't know if I have the power.
You do.
Okay.
Co-host should have the power.
Okay. I gotta remember how to do it.
Okay.
No, but then, I'm gonna do
We're just.
that is, oh yeah, breakout.
And we have posts as well.
Yes, that's only the once we've done the.
Yeah.
Great.
On the agenda, there's already the post, you cannot register.
Aspire.
So just go Zoom directly.
Guys are staff. Your Davis.
You do it, Davis.
Your power supply. Yeah. Right. So you use this fire. I'll come back. Yeah, that's where it's. That's all you guys use.
Try to be more.
Where? No. Okay.
Well, that
First one was. Crash. Iron. Right?
His cash is sitting by the building.
Yes.
So I guess,
It happened all the time.
I don't know.
Tell him he should come to care. It's just
Cold there.
Thank you. Thank you. Mostly. From my free hair. It's the. It is.
We don't have. Right, Davis is,
There's two.
I got four of them.
Oh, I read. You're in this is. Yes. 'Cause I don't know. 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 I don't know.
Okay, so one learning pattern.
What's your other takeaway? Is it? Did you ask him? Is it like, do it again? Let's do something different?
I think we would need to have more. Take a listen. Or to go directly. And I.
So that was a personal, get to know people.
Yeah.
It's something different, maybe not professional.
No, we just didn't have enough resources, but like, yeah, we thought about having more groups for it. Gonna like have a table like, we wanna go sit with other people on this one. What do call it, this?
Oh, did What's beautiful?
So fast, so yeah, totally.
So we have to. That's awesome. Arguments. Oh. Because, rescheduled that for 11. Yeah, when one of us can't step out. Oh. So we'll have a session like. So. Where they.
Yeah.
Hopefully it won't.
So Lynn, are we gonna use your computer to call into, are we both gonna do that?
We'll use my computer. Yeah.
Find a little room and do that.
Okay.
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about that? So much show.
So.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Those who want to be a part of the conversation, reflection. So
Right, I thought it was over.
Yeah.
we understand
Yeah.
Go right into.
what else would be useful.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be the way to do this, yeah.
I mean, we easily had everyone,
That use.
if this is all we were getting.
Don't do that again ever.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Yeah.
A chance of getting to know people, but. And this.
That's
Where I would probably adjust your abilities and come up with. Get to,
Yeah,
where you have like 1 minute. Where you can talk.
Good.
So I was up there. I could, you know, maybe shift.
Yeah.
I think I'm a better control also tonight that there was.
I missed.
Oh,
Yeah, I did realize that there was. Yeah.
You know, something. That's board meeting. The send out.
Yeah. Speed dating people.
Yeah.
Maybe, just to get things started, like 3 questions. 3 questions, right now, 2 questions. Share the 3 questions.
Good idea. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Just something that gives you a little bit of confidence. So, you know, you can.
Next time. We'll keep it.
Good.
Yeah.
We found out.
Had one.
Yeah.
There are.
Next year,
All those things.
Yes.
big change.
It's multiple stages,
Even-
you know. We'll sit down and we'll.
That gets us involved, say, okay, here's a task, we love it. That's another.
Know each other and, okay, here's.
Yeah. 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 It matters. What do you want me to do?
Maybe a task. Relevant.
The training thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. So that's a fun idea.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's really good, yeah.
Like, why are they 17 just coming in the system? Tell me more. I don't know.
We should.
Wait, what? And they did, who in another like crazy far behind, they want to graduate. What's going on? So what, you say that's not unusual? What do you
No, that's not unusual. In that particular case, we encourage the district to say, in a testing, to figure out where exactly they are. That way you just try to get it together.
You start
Place it best.
tracking them, and maybe that's, and now we start tracking them for like education.
And then start to say,
Oh, wait, you
okay,
are.
where are we gonna go?
Yeah. Sometimes in a smart class, it's like, well, state law says. You go through now. 19, 18, you can go
Yeah, that
18.
is.
There's a fucking special education, you know that.
You don't encourage us.
But all the way around, you're gonna get like that. Out of the system.
I can, okay, just so I want to make sure. Yeah. Yeah.
That record is
Right.
empty, void of.
But not
You do anything. You do, well, okay.
Okay, let's see where we start.
Gotcha. Where's the room at I need to go to?
They said we put signs up and there's instructions. Yeah,
It's just around the corner.
Yeah, I.
Around the corner.
Right. Yeah, and I did instructions on the slide for every grade where Eric made the most direct way and I put it in there. I don't remember what it says, but.
Who's starting this?
You, but when's the first speaker?
Okay. All
I'm
right.
going all day, it's on me. I'm
All right.
talking all day.
So by the way, so here's this slight reflection. Get to know he's good. He recommends speed dating-ish. I also talked about, maybe if I give them universal path, different groups get together such as, there was 17-year-old just showed up. Who has no records. And what do you do? Conversation. So,
We also thought about changing sitting groups rather than. It'll be horrible and we won't do it. Did you call me?
Right. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You say good, but it's getting lower and lower in the priority. Thank you for sending it over. Yeah, unfortunately KSL, like, way over dominated my payments today. For the, like,
And anyone is fine, join online. In fact, when we break out our. If you want
to join Zoom or Zoom now.
Yeah, they don't have to, but they're fine if they won't, and then if they're gonna stay in the main room, we will call them, they have to.
So they will have to log in no matter what. Okay.
Need past. They wanna participate.
Okay, sharing some logistics for this next meeting. So the first little bit is going to be together in group in this room, and then there's gonna be a breakout. So those who will be staying in this room, if you want to participate, you'll need to be logged into the Zoom meeting here. There is gonna be breakout meetings, and then Another group is gonna go to another room, and that room is going to be. You don't need to be logged into that room.
You don't have to be, but you can.
You can be, but I'm just saying, there's in the Eagle rooms, just know that we'll be separating into two groups in this next section, so. Just, it's a heads up. We'll
have slides.
Yeah, we'll be going through things, but if you want to be logging in and participating, now's a good time to start testing your network here. Everyone push.
Do you have some feedback issues if you have everyone logged in?
Not if the,
Make sure you mute yourself and your audio. While you're good, so we shouldn't. But we definitely can. So if you want to start joining now, Chris, are you letting people in?
Yes.
Okay. So you can start logging in now and like. What's that? Like, where are you? Yeah. So just giving you a heads up. By the way, sharing, I did a quick reflection. How was the activity? Obviously, the planning and timing, we could have done a little bit better. We also talked about, and I don't have a full census of the room. Yay, or so those who like to meet people from different districts. Do you like us facilitating that? Time wise, we need to adjust, but do you guys like to meet people from other districts? I got two people saying yes. The rest of you are introverts and like, no, but I don't dare say anything either. Kind of the crowd I'm looking at right now.
Good either way.
But either way. We were also thinking, you know, maybe coming together with a chap, go ahead.
Do you want to ask that again?
Right. Here's the question again, just to, that activity, this is just a quick reflection. Do you like meeting people from other districts? Okay, we recognize the time didn't work. And so we probably had some additional, you know, more. Here's a challenge, we'd like you guys to sit with the group and figure out the challenge, kind of report out. Approach is what we're talking about, how to improve this. Or flip side is, no, I'm an introvert, I don't want to talk to the people sitting next to me. But I don't, not like them.
Yeah.
I don't. There's lots of people like that. Hello, welcome. Hey, the meeting's gonna start in 2 minutes. Just for those who are in here. I don't know what the female restrooms at. I know the male is over there. Both restrooms are out the store, down the hall. Thank you. This next section is designed to go till noon.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, 11:50, then we'll break for lunch for an hour and start on the final session. Hi. Online, can they hear us? I see a chat.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can, thank you. All right. Welcome to the second part or session number 2 of our data meeting. Again, if you're in the room, mute your microphones and your sound so we don't get some weird feedback. Okay. We're going to have a couple presentations. And then we are going to have some LEAs presenters come up, and then we're going to go into the breakout sessions. So with that said, Quinn, Rob.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Me again. Hey, everyone. Hey, I'm gonna share a research project that our group's been working on. Before I do, I want to acknowledge lots of contributors to this. First, I'll tell you a little bit more as we go, but Panorama is an online education platform that we've partnered with for this project, so I want to acknowledge them. The entire data and statistics team, we have a group that meets every other week that we call the Center of Excellence, and in that meeting, we try to find interesting questions to answer and take advantage of opportunities that we have. We had an opportunity to partner with Panorama to look at some of their survey data, in particular with the construct called sense of belonging. And that's what I'm gonna introduce you to now. And this is the kind of thing, I know we're gonna do a lot of like more intensive training type things, but this is an opportunity for you to just absorb, take this in and see what we have here. All right, so here we go. So this is gonna be a pretty traditional research format. I'm gonna give you like some literature background, talk about the methods that we use, the results, and then briefly with conclusions and such. So just to start us off, sense of belonging, I'll give you a definition, but it's a super important construct. Some authors suggest that it's, a basic human need and believed to be a fundamental requirement of learning, feeling like we're a part of something. Positive relationships between sense of belonging and motivation, engagement, attendance, behavior, academic performance, psychological well-being, and other things. So, when you think like what outcomes are related to feeling a sense of belonging at school, there's a long list for you. So we think about it as a protective factor, and it's particularly important for students who've been historically marginalized. Just curious as we get started, raise your hand if you always really felt like you belonged at school. You felt like this is where I belong. This is a good place for me to be. Okay, so all right, a few. I did it. Rarely. I think I can see how it will be very important. This all resonates with me and makes good common sense. There are a lot of theoretical explanations for why people would develop sense of belonging and help us understand how important it is. Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, they talk a lot about relatedness and how our relationships with people drive our motivation and engagement. I think that's pretty easy to see. Social control theory suggests that attachments to groups reduce deviant behavior. The outcome that we're interested in this case is going to be causing school incidents. So that idea of deviant behavior is very important to this project. The social ecological model we associate with Bronfenbrenner, if you're familiar with that. He talks about how our development is shaped in nested systems. So we're influenced by the people around us and the type of relationships we have in our contexts and situations. And then that Dewey and Vygotsky talk a lot about these things in learning theories, how important it is to how we learn through our social experiences and engaging with one another. So just to summarize those things, we're not attached to one of these theories. We recognize the whole network, and we'd say that belonging supports connectedness, bonding, and learning. So here's some definitions. When people study constructs, these are just things we make up, right? Like what sense of belonging? We feel like there's some phenomenon that we all experience. We observe that, we give it a name. In this case, we're talking about sense of belonging. Lots of people have come up with different ways to define it. One in particular, all the definitions really emphasize aspects of the student's experience in terms of their relationships with the people around them, their peers and teachers, their school-based experience, and their overall emotional connection to the school. The most popular definition is that middle one, the extent to which students feel personally accepted, respected, included, and supported by others in the school social environment. We're using the one that's put forward by Panorama because we're using their survey items. So this is their construct definition. It simply states how much students feel that they're valued members of the school community. And this is the research question that we're answering. When controlling for relevant student level and school level characteristics, to what extent is student sense of belonging associated with school incidents? This is our methodological approach. We use a generalized linear mixed model that has two levels. We're dealing with the student level and the school level, we want to account for both of those contributions in our model. So our level one predictors were a sense of belonging score. I'll show you what that looked like in just a minute. Whether or not students were male or female, their special ed status, their low income status, whether or not they were chronically absent, and racial minority status. So we used white and other groups. And then at the school level, we had school size and school name. Everything there's a fixed effect except for the school name is the random effect. And the outcome variable, like I said, was whether or not students caused the incident. So we ran this model a couple of different ways. We started out by including English learner status at the student level and Title I at the school level. Neither of those were significant, so we removed those and reran the model using only the predictors that were significant from our first run. So panoramas, we used their sense of belonging scores from 4 LEAs. So this isn't necessarily a representative sample. These are data that we had access through LEAs who we partnered with. And we have their survey scores from the winter and the spring. Considering someone's sense of belonging might change throughout the year, we treated those differently. We ran a model for spring, we ran a model for winter. And that was through third through 12th grade students. These are the 4 items that are used to measure sense of belonging. So if you really want to know what people are responding to when they tell you what their sense of belonging is, this is what they're responding to. How well do people at your school understand the kind of person you are? You can see the scale there. How much support do you get from adults? How much respect do you get from students? And when you're at school, how much do you feel like you belong? Simple, straightforward question. We calculated the means from those 4 items. So we were interested with whether or not students caused incidents. We did not account for severity of incident. So if the student received an incident at all, we counted that as having received an incident. And in our data, students are identified as offender, victim, or both. And we filtered out the victims in these cases. This is what the sample looked like. We started out with 62,502 students that matched from Panorama's data to our data. Is anyone unfamiliar? I keep saying Panorama as if everyone knows what I'm talking about. Panorama is an online education platform that many LEAs, did your LEA use Panorama? Anybody? Yeah, okay, just a handful. All right, great. Would one of you be interested to say briefly how it's impacted your LEA or what value it has or how you use Panorama? Quick explanation for what it is and how you use it. Might be the wrong group.
Yeah.
The way Nebo District uses Panorama is, it allows us to take a look at both academic, behavior, and student well-being data, puts it together, allows administrators to be able to take a look at those together, make individual plans for the individual students. Also, it serves as a strong early warning system, which is the other way that we use Panorama in our district to be able to truly look for those students that are really struggling.
Terrific. Thank you so much for stepping up with that explanation. It's nice to hear from someone who's engaged with it. My engagement with Panorama is accessing data, so I'm not using it at the LEA level or in a school, but my understanding is it puts a whole lot of data right in front of you. You can see a student's academic performance, you can see their attendance, you can see if they've been chronically absent, you can enter notes about ongoing interventions and how those things may or may not have been resolved. And they also have a suite of surveys and a lot of different constructs, over a dozen. And we're looking at one of those survey constructs. And all those data are available in their platform for LEAs who use Panorama. All right, so to cut to the chase here, the bottom line is by the time we separated matched these data from Panorama with our data and got everything organized, we ended up with about 31,000 students who had these sense of belonging mean scores from the winter and almost 47,000 who had them from the spring. And you can see the values there for those who had caused incidents in each of those groups, 1,743 and 2,513. Okay, so when you run a multi-level model, before you ever do, the first thing you have to do is run a null or an empty model that has no outcome variable or no other predictors besides school in this case. And the idea is to find out if there's enough variance at that level 2 to go forward with using a multi-level model. And in this case, there was. I've already explained to you that we ran 2 models and then ran them again with just the significant predictors. I'll show you the results now. I'm going to give you 2 views of descriptives. This should just kind of walk us into what we're looking at. You can see the level 1 variables and the level 2 variables. So level 1 being the sense of belonging mean scores, well, probably a big thing to focus on because that's a variable of interest. You can see the mean score was about 3.5. And you can see the other counts and recognize that those are a lot of dichotomous columns except for school size, which I would point out here has quite a range from 270 to 2,840. Here's the spring model descriptives, very close. It does look like the means have crept down slightly. As I look through this and thinking about it in preparation for this, I became curious if those means were different between winter and spring. So I think that's something we'll probably look at soon. These are definitely preliminary results where this project is fresh. We're working through it now. This is the output for the model. I'll give you sort of a quick takeaway for this. And if people have specific technical questions, we can come back to these tables. But here's a quick summary of the results. So essentially, holding all other variables constant, for every 1 unit increase in sense of belonging mean scores, the odds of causing an incident decreased by 38%. So we're looking at sense of belonging as a protective factor. As sense of belonging increases, the likelihood to cause an incident decreases. Seems like common sense, right? If you're a male student receiving special ed services, a student from a low-income household, or if you're chronically absent, or if you're a racial minority, you have some notable risk factors when it comes to causing incidents. I'll show you a graphic representation of what this looks like. And then also school size. If school size increased, the risk of causing an increase also. The risk of causing an incident also. Here's a graphic representation of what that looks like. Think about that red line as having no effect. Everything to the right of that red line, you think of as risk factors, and everything to the left is a protective factor. I want to talk about grade band just for a minute. The way this works is elementary schools serve as a reference for middle and high school. And in this case, there was little difference between those. And I'm interpreting that in these models as kind of noise right now, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure that the grade band counts in this are very representative of the state, but I'm still looking at the grade bands a little bit more closely. But the big takeaway for here is the sense of belonging as a protective factor. Here's the same results for spring. There's nothing different here. There was a little bit more movement in terms of the odds of causing an incident are now decreasing by 41% instead of, what was that, 38 or 39% we had in the winter. Otherwise, these results are essentially the same, and you can see them expressed here again. So yeah, a few limitations for this study. In an ideal world, you come up with a research question, you get all the great data, and you model it based on every possible predictor you could have. We don't have the luxury to do that. We're using the data that we have available. So that's certainly a limitation. And these 4 districts might have unique characteristics that differ from other districts and state level data. It's not a random sample. So our conclusion's pretty simple and straightforward. Sense of belonging can serve as an important protective factor. And if there's one sort of big takeaway from this, for us, it's going to be to call attention to the importance of sense of belonging. And maybe a next step for us is going to be promoting and helping people understand what they can do to build a sense of belonging in schools. And then, like I said before, being male, chronically absent, attending a larger school, receiving special ed services, being from a low-income family, or being a racial minority are all risk factors for causing incidents. And from the work we've done in the past, much of which I've shared here with you before, you've seen those drastic disparities for these groups in terms of how much, they're associated with incidents and discipline issues. So, yeah, it's a serious concern. All right, well, that's what I have to share. Thanks for listening. Hope that was enjoyable, and let's see what's happening next. Amanda Hartzler, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! Can I tell your
Yes.
All right, it's been a while since I presented in front of people, so. I am Amanda Hartzler. I am over EdFax at USBE. Okay. EdFax is basically where all of your data goes. It's one place where all your data goes. So EdFax is a US Department of Education initiative to collect, analyze, and promote the use of high quality pre-K through grade 12 data. Basically, you guys submit your data to us during those finalizer periods, and I am the one who takes that data in various reports and submits it then to the federal government. These reports that I submit support planning, policymaking, management, budget decision making. It centralizes the data, so every state has to report the exact same information, which obviously helps people make decisions when we all have the same information. And collects data on district and school demographics, program participation, and performance data. All right, so what data is reported via EdFax? Currently, there are 97 files that I submit every single year, the same files over and over and over again. There were 12 new files that were added just last year, so that number is increasing steadily. These categories here were screenshotted off the document from like 5 years ago, but the categories are still the same. Every file I submit is either about assessment, children with disabilities, homeless, neglected, or delinquent students, graduates and dropouts, English learners, migrant students, Title I schools, financial data, safe and healthy schools, are just general school information. These are submitted at various times throughout the year, January and February being the biggest submission time period for me. But so these are not all of the files, but these are most of the files that I submit each year based off of the data that you guys submit into UTrex. All right, so most of the data used to create these reports comes from UTrex submissions. Whatever your data, whatever finalized incorrect data, I am submitting incorrect data. You have finalized great data, I am submitting great data. Yep. EdFax does not collect individual student or staff level data, so all of the reports that I submit are aggregated data. Most often by categories such as grade level. For example, in the assessment file, I might submit who are in foster care, were proficient on their tests, or have various things like that. Due to that, there are sometimes very small n sizes. If I'm looking at how many students are male and in 6th grade at your LEA, that might be 10 students at some LEAs. So very small n sizes. Therefore, these reports are questions about what data is being submitted. Can always come and ask questions. Yes.
So smaller in size still gets submitted.
They still get submitted. So it's not redacted. It's not like on USB. Because we're not putting out that there are two students that.
This.
And then more info. Do you guys have any other questions about what data is being submitted, where it's going? How that data is being used? I think I have the 9 submission deadline.
Using data from all 3 submissions.
Yes. All 3.
Okay, we're up.
Hello?
Can online hear us?
Yes. You might want to turn off your background though, because there's like weird ghosts. That's what you guys look like.
Is Nicole able to share the slides?
Nicole, are you online? Can you share the slides or do we need to do
Yes, that is just going to take me just a second.
Or will we need to do it in the things?
that? I don't know.
Erin, if it is an option for you to share the slides, it might be better. My Wi-Fi is getting a little spotty in the last few minutes, but
Okay, so there's that. And PowerPoint. Hang on. Okay. For those who are online, sorry.
You are good.
Nebo's Wi-Fi crashed, district-wide crashed, and Eric's just happy. Okay, am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so Nicole or Riley, if anyone enters the meeting, you're gonna have to add them to it because we're just on one. Whose hotspot is this?
Mine.
Thank you.
I'm not joining, so.
I'm not a co-host, so I cannot add people.
Megan can. I can.
Okay.
Okay, we're mostly working.
Oh.
Is it showing now? For those online?
Yes. Yes. Key things to know about EdFacts.
How about that? Okay. Okay, Riley, I will click
Oh,
through.
is Amanda done?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. So this is just like a little how to fix your warnings or filter your warnings. So there's a known issue with Utrecht's warnings. So many LEAs, many of you all have said, hey, I've got 5,000 warnings, I've got 1,000 warnings, I've got 200 warnings. And then the next day I get like 220 and I don't know which ones I already went through. And is there a way for me to mark them off, the ones that I've already reviewed or the old ones I've already downloaded and looked at? Because it's hard to spot those new warnings that just popped up this morning. So this has been a request that LAs have made to the Utrecht team to have some way to do a little check. However, the Utrecht team is not taking on a lot of new development work due to the transition that's happening towards USIMS. So this is something that I was, after hearing a few LAs, I'm like, I feel like this is simple enough to not necessarily make like a interactive thing in Utrex to do, but something that could be done in order to filter the downloaded files. So this is a tool that I made with the help of Gemini, so you can too. And it compares your current Utrex warnings to your previous ones, and it will hide everything that you've already seen. So it only shows you what's new. You can go next slide. So the Utrecht's warning is, the Utrecht's warnings is a Jupyter notebook, and so Jupyter is powered by Python, and we have put the notebook up on the Data and Statistics GitHub, so you can download it. The link is there, and this will also be sent out. The slides will be sent out afterwards. And there's just like a lot of little like caveats out. So this isn't a product, it's just a very simple project, and we created this notebook with the help of Gemini to solve a headache that many of you all have expressed. And it's not a professional software product, it's a custom tool, and you can make similar ones to solve more of your headaches. Did a lot of my graduate coursework and research using Python. I'm by no means an expert. Using the, help of AI, it was really quite straightforward to make this. And so if you have a little bit of background knowledge, and adding a little bit of the help of AI instead of reading through pages and pages of Stack Overflow comments, it's a lot easier to make something like this. And then there's also, this is just an as-is policy. It's not an official product. We're not providing tech support, bug fixes, or future updates. So like if the validation file format changes, the script might need a tweak. If something happens to break, the good news is that if you don't know how to fix it, you can just copy paste the error message into your AI tool of choice, and it will help you figure out how to solve it. And then it's also open source, so you can download it, you can use it, you can adapt it, however your LEA wants to use it. It is there and available. So I'm gonna just kind of share about it, and then I'll do like a live demo using fake data. And so what this notebook does is it compares the two most recent UTREX validation files in the folder that you're working out of, and it produces a new warnings report that's in the same format as the UTREX validation files. Or it will compare a new UTREX validation file against the previously made new warnings report. So it does things like automatically handling like annoying Excel formatting issues. So like getting rid of like leading zeros at the end of or at the beginning of certain fields, or uh, dot zeros at the end of certain ID numbers. It fixes broken date formats. It handles weird text formatting, trims white space. And then it also ignores certain daily counters. So essentially what it's doing is it's looking for any changes in the file, and so it's taking the new file and the old file and it's looking for any changes. And so ideally what you would want is the new warnings as the changes, but many of the fields that are in the UTREX file or the validation file are like daily counters, like days attended or Scrum membership. And so those are changing daily, but we don't want those to trigger this notebook to say, hey, that's a new warning, when it's actually the same warning, but one of the values in one of the columns has just changed by one. So that is ignored. And then if you want to go on. So the way to use it is you download your UTREX level 1 and 2 validation files and you put it in a folder. So you have to, have two. You have to have yesterday's and today's. And then you run the script. You can pick your mode. So mode 1 is comparing your two most recent validation files, and mode 2 is comparing today's data against the new warnings report you made the day before. And then the last step is that it creates an Excel file that only has the new warnings. So some of like the things to keep track of, oh, Aaron, can you go back? I really needed that to remind me of what I was talking about. Is you the way that the UTREX validation files are named, it has a list of numbers. There's like 6 digits on the end, and they increase chronologically. So the larger the number means the most recent, or it means later on in time. And so if you have these two files in a folder, it's going to say the newest one is the file that has the highest number, and the older one is the file that has the lower number. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. It does this automatically for you. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a little live demo now. Aaron, I'm gonna request to share the screen. So it says I've re sent the request to you. And let's see if it will let me do it.
Are you a host?
I'm not. So it said I sent you a request.
You got it? She in? Okay. You should be able
Okay,
to-
perfect. Okay, so, and just as a reminder, this is all like fake data. I've made everything up, so I'm not like sharing any student information. Um, but so if you go to the GitHub site, there is this is where you download the Jupyter notebook. And then you're going to put it in whatever folder you want. And then this is the README, and it just describes what exactly the notebook is doing, what packages you need to have installed. And I will say, like I said, we're not providing tech support. If you're like, this is way beyond me, like that's okay. There might be someone in your LEA who has experience working with Jupyter notebooks. They're pretty like entry level, interactive, and maybe someone like on IT or like maybe even a student who's like in Girls Who Code or something, they might know how to do this. So you can get some help from within your LEA. I'm very certain of it. Um, and so it just tells you how to use it, how to set it up. It goes through a lot of the comparison logic. So, like how it's choosing to compare the file, like today's file versus yesterday's file, what columns it's using, what's being ignored. And then again, just like feel free to use this. We're not guaranteeing anything. This is like hey, we like found a way to do this and you can use this, but also you can make your own version. So I'm going to walk through. So here's, for instance, my two validation files. So let's pretend this one is from Monday and this one is from Tuesday. So the one that has 768,000 at the end is bigger than the one that says 759,000. So this is the newer file, this is the older file. So I'm going to go to my Jupyter notebook and I first run this cell and it just makes sure that all my packages are loaded. And it also has this function that cleans up all of the messy like Excel formatting. So I run that. And then this is where all the filtering happens. I mean, you're welcome to read through this. It's fairly commented, but essentially all you have to do is run that cell. And then it says, okay, which mode do you want to do? Do you want to do the mode that compares two files, and that's mode one, or do you want to do the mode that compares one file versus the new report from like a previous time you did this? So I want to compare these two files in my folder. So I press one and it's going to run it. Oh my gosh, I also definitely just checked that this would work 10 minutes ago. Oh no. Oh, you know what? Sorry, I need to understand what's happened.
Python. Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, I think something has happened with the way I'm sharing the screen, but because it will spit out saying how many warnings. I don't know why it's blank right here. But anyways, the new warnings report has been generated and it's saved in your folder. And so you can open it up and it will have all of the different tabs that are relevant between your two files. And just remember, these are fake data, this is not real students, not real. So it shows that, there's only between these two files, there's 6 new warnings on the student tab. There's only one new warning on the student list tab. There's one in the student transcript tab, and then there's 2 warnings on the level 2 errors tab. So these are only the new warnings, and everything else has been removed from this file. And so you can say, all right, I reviewed all the warnings from Monday, and some of them I can't fix or they're correct. And so I left them there. I didn't change any data. And based on Tuesday, those warnings are still there, but I don't want them to clog up and I don't want to see everything. And so these are just the new ones. So that's how to do it in mode one. And then the second mode is, say it's now Wednesday. Um, I have downloaded a new file. I'm going to put it in my folder. There it slowly going. So now I have, now it's Wednesday, I have a new validations file, and I want to compare it to the new warnings because I know I've already reviewed the ones from Monday. The ones from Tuesday that are new are now in this new warnings report. I should change this to pretend that it was yesterday when I ran this. So now it's Wednesday, and I'm gonna just run this cell again, and I'll choose mode 2, and it will go through and will compare the new warnings from today to the warnings report that was generated yesterday. And so it's now a new report, and I can open it up and I can view and see what the new warnings are. So it looks like there's actually 9 new warnings, so that were not there on Tuesday or Monday. There's free and reduced. Oh, we've got a brand new warning here. We have a new student list warning, a new transcript warning, and we have 2 new level 2 warnings. So that is how to use this. We hope that, it's something that might be useful to LEAs. And if it's not useful, then I hope you enjoyed that demo. And if there's any questions, it looks like I have like 2 minutes left on my slot. Or if there's no questions, then feel free to email later or whatever.
Any questions from the room?
It's okay for us to download the code and run it on our ID.
Yes, so the question is it
Yes.
okay for us to download this and do this yourself? Yes.
Please do, yes.
I'll send it out with the slides.
Yep.
And then you can cut it.
And you heard all the caveats. It's
Yeah.
no guarantees on anything, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay? David, you ready? Sure. Oops. Static. And display setting. Am I sharing online?
Yes, but you need to change the display settings. Yeah.
I think.
Lost page, sorry. There you go.
Hello, everybody. I was asked to give a presentation on a project that I've been working on. It's taking real data that you guys all submit and creating what's called synthetic data. And I use machine learning to accomplish that. But in order to do that, the purpose of creating the synthetic data is for us at USBE to be able to share with researchers data that looks like your data, but not your data. We want to be able to ensure that student their privacy is protected. So this just goes over what I just said. The researchers want to be able to build and test their code, and we want them to be able to do so, but we don't want to risk sharing real student data. So what we did is I took the data to have the machine learn the patterns within the data, checked it against the data to say, okay, is the synthetic data look exactly the same or does it look similar? And then we generate an actual data set. So this no real student data goes into the system. It just mathematically determines whether the privacy is protected with what's called differential privacy. If anybody knows what that is, we ran different models. In fact, I ran 5 to 6 different models to figure out which one was the best in order to protect privacy. These are the different data sources that we gave that people are are most interested in looking at: student information of enrollment, their courses, assessment data, and then teachers and schools. What we're using this for is so they can learn the structure of how we do things at USBE, but we don't want them to make any conclusions based on the data, only for something that they can set up, and then they'll give us their code. We'll run it on our systems and allow them to, we'll give them the output to say, this is the relationship. So what this means for you is that the data is protected. There's no risk. They can have faster turnaround to do their research because they don't have to go to the board because it's all fake data anyway. And we have documentation of what we did and how they can use it. Does it look like the real data? It looks similar, but it will be there. It'll be very hard for anybody to actually say, "Oh, I know that kid right there." But it keeps it consistent. Yeah. That's just a summary of what I just talked about. And then, anybody have any questions? Looks like it's
No questions.
Stacy.
No concerns. No.
I do, I have a question. So how are you using this synthetic data?
Well, currently we are just setting it up. I've run the models, compared the output to see what, which one actually protects student privacy, because some of them do better than others. And then the next step, I'm part of the synthetic data team that is working with the University of Utah. They're reviewing my code as well to make sure that I didn't do anything wrong. And then it would be available for researchers to be able to use the data. So that we're still in the early processes of that part. So
Thanks.
Great question. One of the big things that is happening right now is trying to understand how is AI and being introduced into the education system impacting learning. No one has the answer. We're just throwing AI at the kids and say, it's just a new tool. Oh, wait, be really, really careful. Same time, we're like, we can't just give researchers data, understand, the data and say, we'll play with it and see what it's doing. We don't know either. So that's one purpose behind it. Again, another purpose is having the synthetic data set available also allows us to say, now, if there's some training inside of, like a large language model training that the company wants to do, well, here it is. It's totally safe. Again, these are things that we're working with. Multiple states are talking about this. We're just jumping on the train, if you will, trying not to get run over by it. So how's it going to be used in all points? We don't know. This might be just like a 3-year project, and then we're like, that didn't work, and put it away. I don't know. So where's this going to go? Again, the whole point is security, privacy, usability of information. And if some of you are like, ooh, can I have access to this in the future? Maybe. I mean, it should be like totally available for utilization. Say if you have to like shove something through an assistant you're trying to test, you just need synthetic data. This might be an option or an opportunity for you guys to use in the future. I have not talked to any of the SISs saying, hey, you need some synthetic data, but I don't know what they need to test. We're just going down to one, this is, it's a new field, it's a new area. So there's an online question. Let's go ahead and see what that is. Sure.
Will USBE charging for use of synthetic data?
Great question. The answer is, I don't know, probably not. Because as a government agency, we give everything out for free, or we just have unfunded mandates all over the place. Typically, I think what's happening right now is we are working with the U, and they've received a fairly large grant for some AI research that we're just leveraging, and so we will not be charging today. I don't know what the future looks like. I'm just letting you know is, we're not, this is not a money-making scheme at all. This is more, let's actually get into it and figure out what's going on and impact education. So, follow questions.
Does this also with this synthetic data, does it extend beyond like student data? Are we talking like just state data in general?
It can, yeah.
So yes, it can. So what was extended beyond? So right now we're doing course, we're doing student, we're doing teacher assessments. So we're looking at those.
But the way that I have it set up, I can just add any data into it and it will train on the data. So.
Yeah. Okay. Any other follow-up questions? Okay. Stacy. Oh, wait. As you come
Well,
up.
as Stacy's coming up, I just wanted to thank Stacy. She drove a really long way to be here. We gave her the opportunity to be online and she chose to be here in person. And we're not picking on the LEAs that are presenting, but we thought it would be a new way to have you guys present to each other as you guys are peers and learning things on your SISs. And so we're really grateful that Stacy and Davis District has agreed to come and be here and present.
Stacy, I want to have you stand back here with that on.
Okay.
And you don't have. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm a teacher, so I will move. So it just put me back in my place. Well, I can't say that I'm thankful for the opportunity to present, and I don't think Callista should say thank you just yet. Let's see what happens. Because on my way here, I went, okay, that is the stupidest presentation in the entire world. So we're just gonna see how this goes. So for those of you who have heard my loud and boisterous voice in the USIMS meeting, this is my and not USIMS, those meetings too, Mark, as well as the state meetings. My name is Stacy Gom. I work for Cache County School District, and this is my real face. I started working for Cache County as far as the SIS director in March of 2020. I worked once a week with our current manager who was headed to retirement. And in January of 2021, I started full-time. I remember, and back up, and these are my lessons learned in that time. And I thought I would share them with you. I remember attending my first state data meeting. Do y'all remember your first one? I was so lost and confused. And then I thought, I don't need to know any of this because somebody else will take care of it. And I just thought it would be okay. So I paid half attention, nothing. Big mistake. In August of 2021, I finally got a clue. That is when, if you go to my computer, you can see my first set of saved notes from the state data meetings. And my presentation today, like I said, contains a lot of those lessons learned throughout this whole process. And I hope that at least one of these speaks to somebody here and can help you or not. We'll see. Now, lesson number 1, be engaged during the state data meetings. Sometimes it feels like a lot of stuff in the meetings don't pertain to what we do. I mean, half of you are probably checked out right now. I can see it, let alone those who are online, because now it's like 80%, and it's probably my own team back there who is checked out, so you just don't know. I do other things during state data meetings. I'm sure we all do, because we have a ton of work that needs to be done and so little time. But then what happens is the state meeting keeps going and I realize, oh, wait a minute, I needed that. And so then I have to wait for the recording to come out, and then I have to rewind and go back and find out what I missed and take note of, remember to watch this part because you fell asleep or something, and it's not really sleeping, it's just working on other things. So this year I have actually tried to stay more engaged, whether it's something I need to know or it's something that I can be more passive about, but it has really made a difference for good. So that's my first lesson. My second lesson is read the Utrecht's Bible again. as a team, we have what we call Bible study. Is like book club, but with the Utrecht's manual. Sounds like a great time, right? No, it actually sounds terrible, but it is actually pretty awesome. We read the pages independently, and then we come back and we discuss what we have read. Because of the turnover with my team and stuff like that, I personally have done this 3 times. And each time I read that Utrecht's Bible, I learn something new. Or I find something else that has increased my understanding of something that I already knew, but I needed to know better. So each time I review the Bible, state reporting makes more sense. Dave? Now, this is not in my 10 minutes. We go, every now and then we will look through those just to make sure, the back end team needs to know a little bit more of that. So the front end and how state reporting actually all works, we don't need to know that because Power School codes that for us. We're on Power School, and so Power School codes that for us. So we don't necessarily need to know that until we need to know that. You know what I mean? So we don't study the tape, but we study the error tables. We do. Yeah.
Do you ever do the Bible study with department heads and staff, and you study as 2 records?
You know what? That's interesting that you bring that up. No, we have never studied that. But when I go to meet with special ed, for you guys online, hello. Malia, can they hear your question? Okay, so she asked if I go out and I bring other people in, like the SPED team, to have Bible study with. When I meet with the SPED group and I meet with we have file aids that enter all of our SPED data, I will take some of the sections that pertain to them if something's new, like when we did the new teachers, where we have to put the teachers in on the S2 records who are offering the exams. I can't even talk spontaneously. I actually went and met with the file aides. I printed those pages of the Utrecht specifications and explained what we needed to report and why and how it would be reported. And then I printed off the screens in our SIS and showed them how those screens are going to look here and how it's going to get sent to this state. So I'll do segments of Bible study with them with what pertains, but not truly. But that's also a great suggestion. Okay. All right. Okay, so the next one this is lesson 3, to help bridge the gap between USBE and LEAs. USBE does not always understand our world, and we don't always understand USBE's world. We have to work together in this environment. We really do. We need to help USBE understand things from our point of view, because we are often told how to do they are also often told how to do something, and they just need to get the data, but they don't understand how that's going to impact us at an LEA side. And so I don't think it's bad for us to help them to be able to see how it's impacting the LEAs and what it needs to do. I also think I can't speak for anybody else in this room, need to be more patient with USBE in seeing, okay, why are they forcing this on us? Because they are also being just told what to do, and they're trying to do the best that they can. We are trying to do the best that we can, but I actually think it would benefit everyone if USBE would have a little bit of a focus group and bring people in and talk about things and discuss how it's going to impact an LEA before just throwing a change out there. I just think there could be more collaboration between the two parties, because I think sometimes we end up like this, where we should end up being like this, because we're all on the same team. So my next lesson is to volunteer to test and help. And Mark is the one who gave me this idea to do. I don't love living on the bleeding edge, but I feel it's better to have a say and to be able to give input on stuff that is coming down the pipe. We have been a pilot for the USIMS project and Power School, and we have had a chance to make some suggestions that has truly impacted what USBE will do with USIMS and what Power School will do with USIMS. And those things will benefit everybody in USIMS and everybody who is on Power School as well. And without that testing, I'm just going to be blunt because you know I hold back very well. Power School and USIMS would not have realized those issues, and rolling it out without having that would have been a huge mess for all parties. Thank you. I just think it has also helped me better understand what's coming down with USIMS and what's going on with USIMS and what their future plans include. And I think it's bigger than I realized. I think it's bigger than Mark realized, you know? I mean, it's a big deal. Okay. View daily errors as feedback. Okay, now I'm gonna get on a soapbox here and I'm probably gonna offend everyone. I do not love the vernacular fatal error. And it makes us confusing when we have conversations with our legislators because it sounds like we are giving USBE errors. Well, for us, we get our error report and that's just feedback saying that we've got some bad data somewhere and we need to go in and fix it. Well, reality, fatal errors should be called problems that need to be addressed because that's what they are. And warnings are things that should be looked at just in case they might be wrong. Just a sec, Cliff, let me finish my soapbox and then you can be on yours. Okay. I mean, it's like we get so many warnings that are like, well, yeah, but there's nothing I can do about that. And then those warnings that go fatal should be things that need to be looked at by certain date, or these are going to go fatal. I also do not love the fatal errors keep students from rostering and doing the other stuff that we need. I honestly do not understand why that is even necessary. I know it takes a couple of days for us to hit, but if we stay on top of the errors, we can keep the rostering going. But if we miss a day or two, then we're in trouble. And it's bad for the student and it's bad for the teacher. I would love it to see USBE not give any errors on new, especially on new stuff, and make everything warnings until we get to the year end. But the rest of us, I think it's because USBE doesn't trust us to fix the errors in a timely manner. Oh, and wait, maybe it's because we don't fix our errors in a timely manner. Okay, so there are two sides here. And again, if it comes back to if we as LEAs can get our errors under control and address them in a timely manner, maybe we could have those conversations with USBE and ask them to back off on the errors and allow those students to roster. But again, this is just my vision of a perfect world that may or may not be possible, but it is something, that's how we view errors. Soapbox.
First, I love your vision, and I totally support the idea of getting away from the term fatal. So does superintendency. They would really like for us to start using non-loading. If people like that term, that's what.
Well, I don't want those students to load.
There's that aspect we also brought up, which is great feedback. Mark to try to evolve that scenario, and it's something that I was just looking back at specs for when U-Tracks even started last night, and that's that it used to be your entire file failed, like the entire collection would happen. The yellow U-Tracks brought in that next level. Now we're going to do this by record. We're going to say this one record will load or won't load. We at least brought it to that.
Thank you for that improvement. This is awesome.
USIMS is going to bring you that evolution to say we can start to appreciate some of those things that we want. We can say this loading error doesn't actually prevent it from assessments to be able to go out. And
that would be awesome.
Even though they can't get say, their child nutrition program. You know, they can't get fed because of this error, it prevents that, but we can get them an assessment. And that's something we're gonna look to do with USIMS.
Yeah, it decouples the whole principle with USIMS is that, or one of the main points is to decouple the data so that there aren't so many locked in or tightly coupled data sets that are the root cause of those errors.
See, and I think those conversations that you guys are having are awesome. But I don't think the average LEA knows that that is what is going to be happening with USIMS and stuff like that, because maybe some of I know it just because I've been in those USIMS meetings and stuff like that. So I mean, I just think I think there are good things to come, but I think we as LEAs could do a little bit better so that USBE has that trust for us in what we are doing. Okay. Sorry, I know I am over time. Welcome audits, courtesy reviews, and anything else that can have an external look at your data. Okay, those of you who are medium or large size districts, let's be honest, how big's your examine file? There is so much data and so much that can easily be missed. Have anyone look at anything is just helpful. A while back, we were part of the USBE audit, and we've had other instances where people have come in and looked at our data, and they have questioned things, and they have found issues, and it has made us better. And this actually leads to my next lesson, that error-free is not always error-free. In the USBE audit, when we submitted our data, when we do our finalized submissions, we never have any errors. We submit without errors. We're very clean. Most of us are. We all are. Yes, everybody give yourself a round of applause. But that doesn't mean that you're error-free. It just means that you don't have any errors. In our USBE audit, they found a couple of students who we marked as graduated, and they did not meet all the graduation requirements in our SIS. True story. Our procedures at that time, because our graduation rate is so high, our team goes in and marks everyone as graduated. And then the counselors go in and mark the exceptions, and the special ed team goes in and marks the exceptions. So we totally relied on counselors to go in and do that because it was less work than marking everybody. Well, and our graduation plans had all kinds of undocumented exceptions. Guess where the documents were? In the counselor's desk, on a Post-it, something like that. So when a kid had an exception to the graduation plan, it wasn't in the SIS. How the heck were we supposed to know? So we implemented brand new graduation plans. We now don't mark anything. Counselors have to go look at the plan. It is very clear, met or waived, all the way down the graduation requirements. And then the counselor goes in and marks the high school completion status. And it's 1,000 times better. Could a counselor still make a mistake? Absolutely. But at least it's more visual than it was. Second to last is reactive and proactive data handling are both essential. We use our Utrecht's Bible to make sure that the data that we have in our SIS is absolutely correct. And this goes beyond errors. We have over 100 checks in our system that we go through to make sure that our data is error-free. For example, we check every exit code. When somebody marks a kid as UN, we go look at that kid and see if the UN is correct. We check, this is on page 35 and 37 on the Utrecht's Bible, just in case you're interested. We check every 11 and make sure the high school completion status coordinates. We check every WD, we check every AE, HC, and UC, and make sure they are used appropriately. We verify every DO and anything that counts for a DO. We check them. We check every TC. I mean, we go through and we check and we make sure that our data is correct. So we're very proactive not just reactive. The last one is to be involved with your SIS compliance or state meetings, whatever you've got. And this kind of goes back to lesson 1. As we learn about the changes that are going to impact our SIS, and we learn those in our state meetings, we go to our SIS and let them know that they, so that they can be aware. And we have monthly meetings where we can do that. And we get to influence how our SIS sets up those new screens for state reporting, and how the data gets sent to the state is actually quite amazing and awesome. Okay, those are my 9 lessons learned overall that I have found that being involved increased my understanding, and I am better at my job because I am involved. It also allows me to define some of the action instead of being acted upon. I have a greater appreciation, believe it or not, for what USBE is trying to take on, and the greater appreciation for what each one of you do every day in your worlds. I have gone from 0% knowledge to 80% knowledge in 6 years, and these are the lessons that I have learned. I probably am not even at 80%, and I don't think I will ever be at 100%. But without these efforts, I would not be where I am today. And these are the lessons that I have learned, and I hope that they help somebody here. Thank you.
Do I have control on the slides?
Before you go, there is a question in the chat.
Okay.
Aaron, this might be a you question.
Read it out.
Okay, do you want me to say it? USBE put out an RFP for a state data validation system, but have never awarded it. Can anyone speak to this?
Sure. Yeah. So back in December, we put out an RFP for state validation process. There were, I'm not violating anything if I say there's 19 applicants who applications went through, read through them. We did the whole process. And then legislation went left. And then right and zigged or whatever. I'm just letting you know is, so we were moving towards putting a solution in place, which was going to be for this end of year data submission and next month's October submission. That timescale is way off, and Scott Jones, Deputy Superintendent Scott Jones, myself, Jared Felt have been talking about it. We've also been talking with the legislature because there's a pot of money to say there's utilization and allowable uses and not. We're revisiting because what we so the answer for that question, it's a great question, is yeah, we like you, we have things happen to us. And so that thing got put on pause and it's being reevaluated. And we're, yeah, that's where it's at right now. I do not have an answer of what will become of it because we don't know yet. Again, legislature came through and they said, well, what about, can you do these other things? Had a very long conversation, actually, just, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. What's today, Wednesday? I had a long conversation with them discussing, hey, how do we want to approach it? We're looking closer at going back to state audit and the finding on data components. And so we're probably going to focus more on that and then maybe go back for a new RFP. Whatever. Don't know. Great question. Hopefully I answered it well enough. I don't know. I do, but I don't. Okay, David, thank you. And this thing. There you go, right?
Hi, everybody. I'm David Williams. I work with Davis School District. I'm here with my team today. I'm really grateful for this offer, the chance to do a presentation for you all. I think many people, if not everybody here knows, Davis is kind of unique in that they do all of their own software. It's awesome and also kind of terrifying at the same time. And so I'm going to step back. And also I want to thank Stacy, by the way. Stacy, that was a great presentation and 100% on everything you just said. But I'm going to go a little higher level there and talk a little bit about give you a little bit of maybe introspective into what we do, and also I want to celebrate the people. I kind of want to take a people approach here and celebrate the people that make this happen, kind of like what Stacy was just describing. Our product, our SIS is called Encore. So a lot of people just call it, like I've heard Aaron say, he'll be like Davis. Fair enough, that's good. But when we're home at our own school district, everybody calls it Encore, right? And so that's our actual SIS system, and it's more than that. It does financials, and it does HR and warehousing and everything from snowplow scheduling to IEPs. It does a lot. We also have several different portals and other things that we do. One is called MyDSD. That's basically our parent and student, our student guardian portal for everybody, where they can go check their grades, check attendance, pay fees, those kind of things. We have our recruiting website, which also does all of our HR, so job applications, all that kind of stuff. And DSD Give, which is like a kind of a GoFundMe. It's a way of taking in donations, and the schools use that to run all of their different charities, donations, and things like that. So to my presentation today is, I'm staying here. My presentation today is Encore to Utrecht's, the invisible work that keeps us funded. Or as I like to say, why Keith McLean deserves a cape. Keith is our IT, what's your official title? IT data specialist, I think is what it is. And he makes things, he kind of makes things work. So today in this presentation, I'm going to cover state data reporting, Encore, and the joy of owning our own ETL. Like I say, high level, because we've been talking about it, and I'm assuming that if you've been doing this for a while, there might be a few new people here. But why does Utrecht matter? It matters because, well, first of all, it's the law that we have to. We're all by law required to report every day, which is driving our funding based on WPU, like things like our CTE programs. Here's some of those abbreviations that we were talking about earlier, right? At SOEP, the online programs, et cetera. And it also keeps us accountable, not just to the state, but to our own to our own constituents. And when we have errors, when things go wrong, we get things like, missing students, not meaning like physically missing, but like not in our systems, and suddenly they can't be given services or things like that. The funding could be messed up, or worst case scenario, you end up staying up all night because things are just broken and teachers can't teach. And if teachers can't teach, then we're all in trouble, right? So, as you know, Utrecht is not a submit once and forget. It's a nightly data flow. As Stacy was kind of talking about, and I think there was in the presentation where we were just given the script so that we could compare our warnings and stuff like that. We know that the errors change every day, and so that's something that we need to keep on. One of the challenges that we face is that, and you all feel this, sometimes the reporting requirements change mid-year, and suddenly we have brand new things that we have to introduce into our systems. So, and then finally, what is valid locally doesn't always mean it's valid to the state. So like it might be just fine and peachy in our system, but then it goes over to Utrecht and the state says, no, not quite, try again. So this is where Keith comes in. Keith is what I like to refer to as my Utrecht whisperer. And he works kind of across the entire spectrum with our LEA. He's talking to schools and registrars. He's working directly with Encore in our Encore systems and in our data. He works with Tyler Bradovich, who's here also. Tyler, he's a developer on our SIS. He's our lead developer, and they are working together all the time on like what's the best way to gather this data and make sure that it's getting passed through accurately. And then finally, making sure that it meets all of the USBE requirements that we're doing. So you can see that it's kind of this full spectrum, and Keith functions as our like one-man army, our bridge between all of these things. And I think probably many people here probably have that same role, and I'm grateful for all of you. Let's see. So what Keith actually does all day long is review. He always checks every morning, checks the nightly submission, makes sure everything goes through. He passes through the errors and the warnings, checks for fatal errors. Also, sometimes just does logic checks to see if there's any kind of silent data omissions or anything else that might have maybe. Well, as we've learned, sometimes our counts are just don't match what the state tells us back, and we realize that maybe some data is not even getting passed through all the way through the ETL. And so because we own our own ETL and we control all that, we can kind of detect things like that. He investigates into Encore. So if we find an issue like that, he's right with our developer team, working on those angles and looking at those things. And then finally, he's able to manually fix things and resubmit if necessary, if a submission has to be done again midday, goodness forbid, but it happens. So the real problems he handles, stuff like missing or invalid core codes, incorrect membership days, duplicate records, breaking ETL jobs, teacher IDs not aligned with Cactus, and some of those mysterious ones. You guys know the ones where it's like there's like one Cactus ID that meets a really strange class for aviation. I think that's one of them, right? Some of those strange things. And then the legislative changes in the mid-cycle, like I mentioned before. You can see here that's just kind of the basics on our user interaction model. I won't read it through it, but you can kind of see there. Basically, it's all entered in our systems, and then it gets cleaned up and passed to the state. And if it's wrong in Encore, it's wrong with Utrecht, and it affects our reporting, but Keith will find it. He's on top of it. So as far as our ETLs, and if you don't know what ETL stands for, since we've been talking about acronyms, it's extract, transform, and load, right? So it's our process of handling the data and moving it into another system. The value of having our own software from beginning to endpoint is that we can inspect if something fails. We can fix logic, not just the data. We can adapt quickly to USB changes. My developers they're pretty ambitious and they're really good at what they do. And sometimes they fix the thing so quickly that we call and we try to submit it, and Cliff will come back to us and tell us, oh, well, we actually don't even have that live yet. And so, we'll have to like wait on it. And anyway, that's a good problem for us to have, though. We like being ahead of the challenge there. And then the best part is that best and worst is if we have a problem, we don't have to wait for a vendor ticket. Like we do it, we just fix it. The bad part is we have to fix it. So it's a two-edged sword there. And I'll give you one example really quick. This is a screenshot from our system in Encore. This is special ed data, and It's a subsystem called My Idea, IDEA. And I think that we had our U-Trust specification changed just recently in January, that introduced a new requirement this one was to identify
Alt assessment.
alt assessment teachers, right? Thank you. And so we were able to code that right into the actual framework, into the screens that the teachers themselves control, so that they can actually specify those alt assessment teachers themselves. And we were able to introduce that pretty quickly, like within the same month that was introduced to us, and we had a fix for it, and it was already in our system and reporting correctly. So so as opposed to if this were a black box system, like a third-party vendor, again, like things like we've escalated your ticket, we don't have to hear that or any of those. We get the same day investigation. We can manually upload if we need to, although we don't typically have to manually do it. It's all streamlined. And then I get real explanations from my team. We can do deep dives on why things go wrong, and fairly minimal system delays. I mean, we still have our problems and issues as well, but it's because we have great people like Keith who can keep us on track and keep us going on that. So finally, Utrex works because we own our own systems. Davis School District invests in data quality. It hires people who understand both tech and the rules. And last but not least, Keith McLean watches all of our reporting details so that our office managers and our school administrators don't have to. Okay. So any questions? I say it was pretty high level, but. And I wanted to end with saying also that if you one of the things we're really pushing for right now is working with other school districts. I've been really fortunate to meet quite a few of you over this last year, whether that's in the district committee or other places. And I think Stacy touched on this as well, that the value of collaboration between districts, I can't overstate that. It's so important and so valuable to us. Sometimes because we live in our own little world, especially where we build our own software. And sometimes we're like, well, I wonder how other school districts do that. And so please, if you're ever wondering that, or you wanna like brainstorm a problem, please look me up, David Williams at Davis School District. I'd be happy to have a call with you, meet with you, collaborate on whatever projects you think are worthwhile. So, right. Yes, sir.
My question would be what would empower Keith? What is it that he's doing that would make it where we can present more information where you don't have to have involved on we'll speak kind of top of the level, but that we help share that information at each level at a level that helps make all your developers understand it.
So that's a good question. The question was, what would empower Keith? What do you think, Keith? That's a
Way more funding for our developers, like double our, we're constantly they're constantly spending time converting old systems and updating rules. We've got a ton of applications, like thousands of applications that are upgrading, I should say. And so there's trying to convert that, but also keep up with new stuff. And there's certain screens and stuff like that we use that, we deal with it as we go, because they're not as priority as others. But honestly, I think I have what I need. You guys have great communication. I think sometimes knowing when a system is down is helpful. Although I think sometimes it feels like we're the first to identify that it's down. So, but knowing when something's not going to work ahead of time is helpful. like last week, the SSID system, I wasn't able to log in for a couple of days there. And that kind of puts a damper, halt on getting stuff merged and other things, especially with it being testing time. There's some kids that weren't showing up that needed some tests. And, so it just delays there, but for the most part, I think I have a lot of tools at my disposal. And Tyler does the bulk of the work that I need done. So, he does all the complex stuff and even some of the simple stuff, because I sometimes get locked in a cycle of thinking of problem solving a certain way, and I won't forget, well, there's a simpler way to look at this, you know. But I think I have most of the things. It would be nice if our uploads were faster. That would be great. It would be nice to download the examine file and not have it take 5 minutes to download. But other than, you know, speed and whatnot, I think we have what we need right now.
Yeah, I'd like to also second what Stacy was saying earlier about the if possible, letting some errors be not blocking errors if possible, right? Because as you know, now that the state is contracting with so many test vendors, I mean, it used to be a thing that was imperceptible to schools, and now it is very perceptive to schools. They feel that pain when those students can't be tested, and they're, you know, and the school is moving on with testing, and they've got to figure out what to do with this one student that's not in the system, right? So, anyway, yeah, and yeah.
Something with the data on that.
Yeah, it's just a data problem, yeah. So I think things like that, but here from my view, and I don't know if I properly introduced myself, and I apologize. I'm the director of information systems. So I work with all of our programmers and our customer support and our data team and everybody else, but to keep all these systems running. And I would say that in my experience over the years that I've worked with Davis School District and worked with the state, I feel like we're at a better place with communication now. And with collaboration, I feel like I can always call somebody at USBE. They're always willing to answer their phone and talk to us. And it just has to be a willingness to jump on the phone and ask questions. And they're always, for at least in my experience, they've always been there and willing to help out. So thank you guys for that. Right. Well, thank you for the time.
Again, super thankful to the LAs that were willing to present, and watch out for the future, because maybe we'll keep doing that. Okay, so we are down on time that was scheduled, so we're gonna do this in less amount of time, but our next part before lunch is an actual choice of which session to attend. So for those online or physically here in the room, if you would like to attend the session that will be geared towards more advanced UTREX users, meaning we're not going to go over the basics, you would stay here. So both in Zoom and physically, you would stay in this room. If you are planning to go to the basic UTREX training, which would be if you're new, just want to review, you don't even have to be new, going over all of the things from the UTREX overview, fatal errors, how to download files, that both on Zoom and in person, you're going to go to a different room. So on Zoom, we will have a breakout room, and then in person, it is called the Mount Nebo room, and there should be signs. The quickest way is if you go towards the main office, pass it, it's the last room on the left. So we'll get the online breakout room set up here in a minute. If you're in person, you can either stay, go to the other room, but we'll take the next few minutes for people to get where they need to be. Yes.
So right now it's still hot, so I don't know. The internet itself. It's actually running really well. Hesitant to change on that. Because the other one is rather than leave it on top.
Yes, 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 thank you so much.
That's what was called.
I don't.
And I'm like, well, you don't do it. Not having to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I can.
It is what I do anyway. I don't know what the do is, but.
Well, I know you were really good. It's great.
I don't think anyone used to walk for as long as. You bet. One class. I don't even know exactly. Hang around.
Yeah.
Variation, so.
No, he's at I.
Yeah. They could. We've had all.
And then-
It's a bit of a challenge.
I'm sure, but. I just thought. Lay it out, I've got. Nobody's. It's like, cause I think we're really.
The breakout room.
I know, I feel like.
The gas screen presented with like,
And thing that requires a room. You know, like. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do that.
you know, but then when I was doing my first, I thought that. Oh, I mean, you're the one that is like, I'm gonna aspire to figure out.
Yes.
Yeah, if you remember that you decide. That's all. Right. Anyway, well, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
No, we good.
Yeah.
Because you come by this. So then I'm sitting.
Well, I have.
I'm trying to figure that out.
We're saying this is such a.
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
I'm a little behind on some things. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We don't have a lot of time. For those online, it should be enabled. I did see that some LEAs were able to change rooms. If not, you're welcome to stay here. We will send out recordings for both rooms as well as the slides. But for those that are here in person, I put up a poll if you're logged into Zoom. This is just gonna help us choose what to talk about. So we came up with 5 topics that we get a lot of questions about from all LEAs. And we can go over as much as we have time for, and we can also take other questions again if time permits. So we're gonna quickly let everyone vote essentially on what topic we want to start with, and then if we have time, we can go through other topics as well. So it looks like right now attendance and chronic absence is highest, followed by district of residence. And again, we can hit other topics. We will still send out slides on all of these topics that we have prepared either way, but okay, so I think we'll go ahead and start with attendance and chronic absence. And then we will probably do district of residence and graduation following that. Okay, so I'm gonna end this for now. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll over to our first topic. We have Megan and David to talk about that.
Hi, I'm Megan. So this is specifically related to the school report card. We got quite a few questions this year about how consistent attendance is what is called on the school report card is calculated. Oh, we don't want that anymore, do we? Okay. There we go. So here at USBE for all chronic attendance absenteeism calculations, we use the Common Education Data Standards definition of what that is. So a student is flagged as chronically absent when they have attended school a total of at least 60 calendar days and had a total attendance of less than 90% for the total days of membership, or were absent more than 10% of days. This is a calculated field, so you submit data through UTrex on attendance, and then we use specifically the days attended field in UTrex to calculate chronic absenteeism. You can see this is just a screenshot from the UTrex specs of what is required for days attended, but that's how we calculate whether they've been attended 90 days or more, or were absent more than 10 days, 10% of days. So it doesn't matter if they have 180 membership days here, it's just they have to have more than 60 calendar days of attendance. So they could be like 100 days of membership and absent for what is 10 days exactly, and or 11 days, and they would be considered chronically absent in that case. Yeah.
So that 60 days, is that consecutive, or like they like enroll for 30, enroll for another 45, and that totals the 60, or is it take each enrollment individually?
David, do you know the answer to that question?
I know the answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's summed up across all the student enrollments, in a particular.
Yeah, in a particular school.
So then,
Change schools. In the same, yeah.
Yeah.
but if they go school A, school B, and back to school A, you're gonna add both.
Well, yeah, both school days are dead. They put it in.
Yes, okay, all right.
And it's 60 calendar days, it's sort of the proxy for more than school days, more than the school year. Because it's hard for us to nail down what the actual school days are, so that's why 60 calendar days. It's supposed to be, we only want to calculate for who's been enrolled at least 4.
Thank you, Lily. Okay. Do I have anything else? I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any questions about this? So, sorry, let me go back a minute. Yeah,
So you just look at their entry and exit dates, not just membership.
we're looking at entering extra dates for the calendar days. The total calendar days, but for days attended, it's based off of this field in Utrecht, so if they were present, the sum of days that they were present based off of these Utrecht specifications. So for grades 1 to 6, it's if they were marked present anytime during the day, and in 7th and 12th grade, at least one period of the day, they're considered attended that day of school.
Basically, the field is a nullable bid field, so if they don't meet that minimum day criteria, then the field is voted as null.
Yeah.
And then if they do meet the criteria, then they'll get a 0 or a 1. A 1 means they met the chronic access criteria, which does membership and attendance to that calculation. So the membership doesn't come in until we first determine which they're gonna get null, which they're gonna get non-null.
And then, sorry, I forgot to add this little thing, because we're talking about school report card here. So the school report card actually reports the inverse of chronic absenteeism, consistent attendance. So that calculation is literally just 1 minus the decimal of how many kids you have that met this chronic absenteeism definition. And then that's your consistent attendance on the school report card. Do you have any other questions about this before we move on? Okay, cool. Feel free to reach out if something comes up. We're happy to provide more information.
So Riley is actually online, and Riley is the one that was gonna talk about district of residence stuff, but I can also do it. Riley,
Oh, you are cutting out. Sorry, what?
are you there to talk about district of residence stuff?
I am, but the internet seems to be struggling on your end. So
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
best. So yeah, this is similar to the type of training we provided in the past. Since this is like the advanced training, I'll go through the advanced details. So the Utrex system checks addresses by making API calls to the UGRC, and it checks submitted addresses against the street and zone geocoding endpoint. So a lot of the issues we see in that LAC is maybe they're looking at an address and it shows up in Google Maps, it shows up at the USPS, shows up in the county or city streets file. But that doesn't mean that it's valid according to the UGRC. So that is the source of truth. That is where it's being compared against. So the UGRC with this API call, it checks that these are physical addresses that exist in their database. LEAs can also make API calls to the UGRC. They can use their API client. Both are free. If you have certain questions about how Utrecht has set up the criteria, you can reach out to the Utrecht team because they have those details. So the UGRC says that they maintain the data set through collaborating with the counties and with municipalities. They get the master address list authority to continually improve the address point data. They update on a rotating schedule depending on the rate of new development. And so this isn't necessarily something where like, okay, you've got a new subdivision and next month there's all the addresses are up in there. It could take, every 6 months, it could take every 3 months. What happens when we have a student who lives out of state, since their address would not be found in the GRC database? So there is an exception to the address validations if the resident code is A, I think, right, Lista? That means out of state.
Yes. Yes.
Then
Yes.
they don't need to have, they don't need to pass these validations. And so that is fine. This level 2 invalid address fatal error, or whatever we'll be calling it soon, I don't know. This triggers when none of the values enter in any of the address fields return a valid match from the UGRC. And as of right now, the order that the various physical address fields are referenced are if there's GPS coordinates, then it takes those and checks those first. If there's not, then it checks for an open location code like a Google Plus code in the geocode field. If there's nothing there, then it goes on to if GPS coordinates were entered in the student physical address 1 line, which is valid to enter there. Then it will check to see if there's a geocode in that same field, and if none of that's there, then it checks the student physical address 1 last. So if you're like, I need to keep this student physical address because our bus routes pull from it, then and it's not showing as valid, you can keep that address there and use the other fields like the GPS latitude, longitude ones, or the geocodes to put in the one that will be validated by the state.
Oh, we have some questions.
So I don't know, maybe I was using the wrong API when I was testing it out last year, but when I used it, you could pass in the zip code or the city name, not both. And we are actually having issues with, like, South Weaver shares zip codes with Ogden. And so all of our students in South Weaver come up as we get invalid district of residence on those addresses. The address is considered legit, but it's telling us that those addresses are in Ogden rather than in Davis County. We also have another issue with it where we have a whole bunch of unincorporated land up in West Point. Those addresses off of mailing address are a Hooper address. Hooper is in Weaver, but a lot of those addresses are actually in Davis County. Those are also giving us the only way I can pass through for our submissions is by changing it to the district of residence that the error messages is giving us, which is not the correct one.
Yeah, you don't want to just change the data to be inaccurate just to make the error go away. Riley, did you want to address that? The rest of the
Yeah,
question,
and
or-
I mean, I just want to be straightforward. I personally don't use the API. I literally don't know what that is. So I use the atlas.utah.gov. So I'm wondering, maybe that's what you're talking about too, because you enter in the street name and then there's a next line that says city or zip code. So that's like the very user-friendly interface. Or maybe it's with the API call. I don't really know. So this kind of goes through actually clearing that. So you do have to check using both the city on its own and then checking separately with the zip code on its own, because sometimes there's like something that UGRC has where it's like not recognizing the right one. So you do have to check both independently. And then if you see that it's, you're entering it as valid, you can't do anything, you can't change it, or UGRC still isn't saying it's valid, then this tool that you have to resolve this error is by using the GPS coordinates or the geocode. So that is the only option that you can do to use to clear that error. If UGRC is not recognizing it, then that's all you can do.
Have some specific ones before changing them. Just email them in to Riley and I and troubleshoot like individual
We're gonna have
ones.
at least 50 addresses and then upper.
Yeah. And if they're all similar issues, if you just provide like 1 or 2 examples, then we can show you how to do those, and then you can fix the other, 50 or whatever it is. But you for sure don't want to change the district of residence just to satisfy the error message. We want that to be correct because there is funding tied to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
also
another question.
she had that list of the order that you check things in. And so those first two, because like 3 through 5 all come from the student physical address, where are you getting those first two from? What field is that pulling from? Like, isn't
It's called GPS latitude, GPS longitude. One's called open code or geocode.
It was,
you're saying if we put a GPS coordinate into the physical address, that's based on the value.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I understand. Okay.
I don't know how long that will be supported, but right now that is allowed.
Kind of make sure that is clear. There are those dedicated fields. There are the newest ones currently on the S1 record for those three GPS type-based fields: the latitude, longitude, and the open code. So that's where you want to put those rather than putting them into address one. To first start about trying to extract out that from the address one or address two field or kind of an internally process. But that's we're dedicated fields for that. We'd like to have the GPS piece in there. It's a lot of noise, and you're not going to be able to get actual street address lookup through the out here to see put the GPS in there. Prosper when you go out to the UI and say this was a GPS, not an address. And I would also double down on the solution that Riley given. That's that if for some reason you thought here is wrong, and they're not going to say it's 100% always right. It's not perfect. They have to do updates on the boundaries. Those can be delayed. So if you know and feel that it's wrong, you can also then try the next correction, and that's give it plus code or the GPS. The plus code lets you say, I can look at it on the map and I can see where it is, but I don't have the GPS for it. So you just give it within this box, and that box has a code with GPS. Obviously, is going to be very refined. Could still use your maps system, just drop a point there and say, what's GPS on this? And modern mapping system will still give you a GPS at whatever point you drop them. It's not going to be perfect, but it is a workaround if, again, if you thought here C isn't giving you the right answer, and suggest the other options. And if none of those give you the right answer, come to us and try to look at it and try to find out if there is some district value. We need to try to make this some level of override.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? For sake of time, I'm thinking that we're gonna need to do it to be continued on some of these, which we have our meeting next month in May, which is good because we'll be going over stuff for year end anyway. So is everyone okay with that if we sort of wrap up, let people go to lunch? We will still send out all of this information in the slides, but just, we want to make sure that we can get people to lunch. So, Riley, we're gonna go ahead and we'll have to, we'll re-present on district of residence, and then we'll still send out the slides. So, if everyone online and in person wants to go ahead and go to lunch, our next and last session starts at 1 o'clock back in this room. So we'll let people go.
Righty.